This is probably one of the most complete beginner gym guides on YouTube that you're ever going to find. In this video, I'm going to give you a full program and cover pretty much everything a beginner needs to know when they're first starting in the gym. So we're going to go over exercise selection, sets, reps, how heavy you should go, how to progress your exercises, how much rest time you should have, and even go through what you should do if you're short on time. Then I'm also going to take you through every single exercise on the program. I'm going to do a tutorial on all of these, just like you're doing a one-on-one PT session with me. So instead of wasting time walking around the gym, not knowing what to do, you're going to have a clear plan and the confidence to follow the plan. So why should you even listen to me? My name is Paul. I'm a qualified exercise scientist and the owner of SPC Performance Lab Gym. I've coached hundreds of people through their very first training sessions, and after years of refining my systems, I know what works for pretty much every single beginner first starting out at the gym. So the full program is to download for free in the description. No email, no details. You can download it for free. So get it so you can follow along while you're watching this video. So we're not going to waste any more time. We're going straight into it right now. So if you open the program, you'll see that there are two workouts, workout A and workout B. Each day is a full body program, so I've spread the volume over every muscle group within the session. This opposed to dedicating one or two muscle groups to a day, for example, doing like chest and triceps, back and biceps, and legs. The reason being, if you do a lot of volume of the same muscle group within a single session, being a beginner, you're probably going to be very sore. Secondly, you get to stimulate the muscles multiple times a week rather than, say, training on Monday and then having to wait a whole 7 days to hit that same muscle group again. And thirdly, you're going to be able to hit every muscle group whilst you're feeling fresh. For example, if you were to do 3 tricep exercises within a single session, you're going to feel fresh for the first exercise. The second one, you're going to be a little bit tired. And by the third exercise, your triceps are probably going to be dead and you're not going to be able to push as much volume as you could if you were feeling fresh when doing that third exercise. Being a beginner program, I mostly stuck to machines purely just to improve your confidence and just get you in the habit of going to the gym. If we make the program too complex, it's going to probably be too difficult to follow and then you're probably going to end up giving up. However, I did add a few free weight exercises so you can start building confidence in doing these movements. So later on, when you do transition from like a beginner to an intermediate, you already have had some exposure to free weight exercises. As a minimum, you want to train 2 days per week. This amount of volume is going to get you some amount of gains. If you've been doing 0 training and now 2 days of training, you are going to build some muscle and some strength just doing 2 days worth of training. But I'll say the ideal amount of days to train for a beginner is 3 days. That extra day of volume relative to 2 days is going to just help you progress in your muscle mass and strength just a little bit faster. Also, I think it's just good for good habits formation. Let's say if you go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then have the weekends off, it's going to be a little bit better in you building habits than versus doing 2 days. Not saying that you can't build habits of doing 2 days. I think 3 days are just more effective for most people. And if you're a little bit crazy and you just want to get the most amount of gains as possible starting out, you can do 4 days. But to be honest, pick an amount of days to train, which is going to be realistic for you, and most importantly, something that you can be consistent with. Because at the end of the day, you being a beginner, it's not about doing the best program or trying to lift as heavy as you can or anything like that. It's you being consistent. And lastly, you can always start with like 2 days a week of training, get in a rhythm, get some consistency, build some habits with that. And then as that gets easier and it becomes easier for you to get to the gym, then you can bump it up to 3 days. Likewise, you can do 3 days for a while. And as you get used to doing that, then you can move to 4 days if you feel like you want to. So as there is just workout A and workout B, you're just going to keep alternating between these workouts. So let's say, for example, you choose to train 3 days a week. On, say, Monday, you'll do workout A. Wednesday, you'll do workout B. Friday, you'll do workout A. And then when it comes Monday of next week, you're going to start with workout B. So just keep alternating regardless of how many days per week you're training. In terms of what day should you actually train on, to be honest, it doesn't matter. Just fit with whatever is going to help you be consistent. So for some people, if you prefer structure and having set days, because it's kind of like you're making a promise to yourself that I'm going to train, say, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then do that. However, if your life is a little bit chaos and random, maybe your schedule always changes, you don't have to train on specific days. If you fall into this category, just make the commitment, be like, hey, I'm going to train 2 days a week within a 7-day period, and just make sure that you get to the gym 2 days in the week. Again, right now, it doesn't really matter what days you train on. What is the most important thing is, are you getting the training volume in within a 7-day period and not having very large gaps between workouts? So you're not training on, say, Monday, have like a whole 7 days off, and then you're training next Monday, and just having large gaps. Ideally, try to have about 1 to 3 days gap between training sessions. Obviously, this is going to depend on how many days per week that you are training. If you're doing 2, 3, or 4 days, but around 1 to 3 days between workouts is going to be ideal for a beginner. However, if your week only permits that you can, say, train 3 days and they have to be like in a row, say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that is totally fine. You're not going to overtrain. You're not going to get injured. It just probably means by the time you get to the 3rd day workout, you're just going to be a little bit fatigued because you trained on Monday and Tuesday. The overarching concept I'm giving you is that the total training volume that you get done in the week is much more important than how you spread that volume over the week. So with how many sets you should do per exercise, you'll see on the program, I've got set ranges between 2 to 4 sets per exercise. So I gave set ranges because you are going to be able to auto-regulate how many sets per exercise you want to do, depending on how easy or hard the workouts are specifically for you. What I would suggest, if you are completely new to training or haven't been training for, say, over 3 months, for week 1, I would suggest just doing 2 sets on every exercise. It's probably going to feel pretty easy for some people, but I can almost guarantee that you're probably going to be really sore in the first week of training just doing 2 sets if you are not currently an active person. After you get that first week out the way, coming to week 2, you can start adding the 3rd set to exercises if you want to. And with that, you don't necessarily have to add 3 sets onto every exercise. Some exercises might feel really hard for you. So for example, if you're doing legs, you might find 2 sets smashes your legs. But then arms, they recover easy and you can do 3 sets. So you might do 2 sets on some exercises, 3 sets on the easier exercises, and then as the weeks progress, you can keep adding that 3rd set to whatever exercises that you want, or slowly do that 3rd set on all the exercises, so you're slowly increasing your training volume in a step-like fashion. Likewise, let's say you've been training a few months and the workouts are starting to feel a little bit easier. You're adapting, you're not really getting sore, and you feel like, hey, I can do a little bit more. So you can do the same process and start adding a 4th set to exercises week to week until you're doing 4 sets on every exercise if you choose to. But the overall concept I want to give you for if you should maintain or increase your set volume, if you feel like you're progressing on the amount of volume that you were doing, then just keep that volume. If you feel like you're getting stronger, you're building muscle, and the workouts are feeling challenging enough, then cool, just maintain the amount of sets that you're doing. However, after a few weeks or months, if you feel like your strength and muscle gains are starting to plateau, or you'd like to speed up your progress a little bit, then you can start increasing the sets as I just explained earlier. So how many reps should you do? Specifically for building muscle, you can use a pretty broad rep range of 5 to 20 reps, and you're basically going to get equal amounts of muscle gains within that rep range. Specifically for building strength, yes, lower reps are going to be more effective for getting stronger, say 5 reps and under. However, specifically for a beginner, even doing higher reps between 8 to 12 reps, you are still going to get stronger. For the beginner program, I suggest sticking between 8 to 12 reps. It's going to be a good blend of accumulating a decent amount of training volume so you can build muscle. You are going to get stronger doing 8 to 12 reps, even though they're a little bit higher than, say, 5 reps. But most importantly, being between the 8 to 12 rep range, it's going to allow you to focus on the technique on exercises. If you're a beginner or you're just never trained at the gym, the first phase of your training is just going to be learning the technique on the exercises. So therefore, I think going under 5 reps, it's too heavy. 8 to 12 reps is going to be a good rep range for basically every beginner watching this. How heavy should you go when you're training? If you're totally new to training or haven't trained for at least 3 months, your muscles are going to be highly receptive to the training stimulus of lifting weights. Meaning you don't need a whole lot of training to see some amount of progression in gaining muscle or strength. Therefore, going super heavy is probably not going to give you any more gains than going a little bit lighter. All that's really going to happen if you go too heavy is that you're going to get probably the same amount of strength and muscle gains if you went a little bit lighter, but you're going to generate a bunch of extra fatigue, which is not going to be very helpful for you to make progress. And trust me when I say this, if you were totally new to the gym, you are probably going to be very sore after those first few workouts. So start conservative, start pretty light, and then you can work up as the weeks go on. It's much easier to start too light and progress upwards rather than starting too heavy and having to pull back. So what I suggest when you're selecting weights on your exercises, pick a weight that when you get to the 12th rep on an exercise, it feels like you've got like another 5 reps left in you. So say if you're doing a goblet squat, you're holding the dumbbell here and you're squatting. Let's say you're holding 10 kilos, right? You do 12 reps, you finish the set, you put the weight down, it's like, okay, I did 12 reps, but I probably felt like I could have done, say, 17 or 18 reps. That's about how heavy you want to go in that first week of training. But what's probably going to happen is when you get to the gym, like you literally are going to have no idea how heavy each machine is and what weight you should be doing. So what I suggest, so for plate-loaded machines, so machines where you're like putting the weight plates on, just literally start with no weight on the machine. Get used to the movement, see how difficult the machine is, because some of those plate-loaded machines can be heavy just with no weight, and some are going to be really light. Do a few warm-up sets with, or do a warm-up set with no weight, and if it's like, okay, that was pretty easy, put on a little bit of weight, okay? Do that set. If you felt that was too easy again, then you can add a little bit more weight on top of that. Again, it's easier to start light and slowly increase rather than start heavy and you have to take weight off. If it's for a pin-loaded machine, so where it's got the weight stacks and you're putting the pin in the weight stacks, again, start with like the first plate or two, all right? Give it a try. If it's easy, then cool, just go up a plate and then you can slowly increase from there. And for the exercises in the program that are using free weights, again, start with the light ones, okay? Same process that I said. Do a set, see how easy or hard it is, and then you can always work up if that first set was too light. And from that, don't worry what other people are thinking about you if you are going light. Trust me, no one gives a shit of what you're doing in the gym. They are too busy thinking about themselves, looking at themselves in the mirror, taking photos of themselves, scrolling on Instagram, and they literally do not care what you're doing. So essentially you're using that first week just to, one, learn the movements, and two, work out how heavy or light you should be going on each exercise. You've got the program there that you can download in the description. There's a little area on the side where you can log your reps and weight. So what I suggest what you do when you're in the gym as you do exercise, log how much weight you did, how much reps you did, and if you make a little note to yourself that it was too light or too heavy, so then when you go to the second week or when you're doing that workout for the second time, you know where to start from. So again, don't worry if you mess up the weights in the first few sessions on the gym, because you can always improve next time you're in the gym. So over time, you're going to need to increase the training stimulus by either adding more reps, weights, or sets so you can keep progressing. This is known as progressive overload, increasing the training stimulus according to your training adaptation. So basically, you're adapting to the training stimulus, okay? You do a workout or you're training over many weeks or months, you're building muscle and you're getting stronger. So therefore, what used to be hard for you is now getting easier. If you just stick on the same reps and the same weight, you're not providing a new challenge for your body. So therefore, the workout is not going to be very stimulating for you anymore. So you need to increase the stimulus according to the training adaptations so you can continue progressing as the weeks and months go on. So for a beginner, it's really, really easy to progress in terms of I have a very simple progression model that literally every single person who's watching this video can follow. So we're going to call it the double progression model. On the program, you'll notice that everything has a rep range between 8 to 12 repetitions. Now, what you're going to do is when you can hit the high end of the rep range for all however many sets that you're doing, whether it's 2, 3, or 4 sets, when you can hit the high ends of the rep range for all sets using a given load, then you increase to the next weight increment up next time you do that exercise. So for example, let's say you're doing a goblet squat with a 5 kilo dumbbell. Set 1, you do 12 reps. Set 2, you do 12 reps. Set 3, you did 12 reps. In this example, you were able to hit the high end of the rep range for all 3 sets using the given load of 5 kilos. Therefore, next session, you're going to increase to 7.5 kilos and repeat. Over time, as the weights get heavier, you're probably not going to hit the high end of the rep range. So for example, you get to a 20 kilo goblet squat now. Let's say first set you do 11 reps, second set you do 9 reps, third set you do 8 reps. In this example, you were not able to hit the high end of the rep range for all 3 sets using the 20 kilos. So what you're going to do next session, you are going to use the 20 kilos again, and then you're just going to focus on doing more reps. Next session, you might do 12 reps set 1, then 11 reps set 2, and then 10 reps set 3. Okay, I didn't hit the high ends of the rep range. I'm going to use 20 kilos again for next session. Then eventually you were able to get 12, 12, 12. I was able to hit the high end of the rep range for all sets with the 20 kilos. Then next session, I can move up to 22.5 kilos. But what if the next weight jump is too heavy? So for example, let's say you're doing a lat pull down, okay? You're doing, say, 8 plates on the stack, okay? You're able to do 12 reps. But then when you move to the 9th plate, you can only do, say, 6. So you're not within that 8 to 12 rep range. So your current stack is too easy, but the next weight stack is just like too heavy. So what do we do in this situation? If this happens, feel free to do more reps than the 12 I've got there. So you can increase to, say, 15 reps. You can even go all the way to 20 reps if you want to, but you probably don't need to go that far. If you go to 15 reps, okay, on, say, we'll just use that lat pull down example that you on the 8th plate. When you can eventually do however many sets that you're doing, say 3 sets of 15 reps on the 8th plate, then when you move to that 9th plate, then you probably are able to do 8 reps now. okay, because you got stronger, you went beyond the 12 reps, got stronger, could do 15 reps, now you can make your way up. So you're not totally restricted to the 8 to 12 rep range. You can do more reps if you feel like you need to, so you can eventually progress to the next weight up if the next weight up is currently too heavy for you. So what if you're really time poor and you just need to get through the workouts faster? Let's say you've only got 30 minutes to train. How do I get through the training program faster? So one of the other reasons why I do the program as a full body program is that you'll see that each exercise doesn't overlap in the muscle groups that you were using. For example, on day one, I can't see the program off the top of my head, but I think the first exercise is like a leg exercise. It's probably a squat. And then the next exercise is probably a chest press or a dumbbell chest press. So here we're alternating between a lower body exercise and an upper body exercise. So I've done this because you can superset exercises together. So while you have trained one muscle group, say the squat, you can have like a short rest and you can jump in straight to the other exercise, being the chest press. So you were supersetting, or you were pairing two exercises together, okay, so you can get through it faster. So you might do 12 reps on your squat, have say 10-15 seconds rest, go straight into your dumbbell chest press, and then you might have like your 1 to 2 minute rest, and then you go back to the squats and repeat the circuit until you've completed however many sets that you need to do. Because there's 6 exercises per workout, you can pair 2 exercises together. So it's going to be 3 lots of 2 exercises if you choose to superset the exercises together. If you don't want to superset exercises together, let's say the gym's really busy, you can't get on the machine, and you just need to sit on that machine that you're doing so no one takes it, then that's fine. You can just do that one exercise, do your 3 sets, move on to the other one. However, the option to superset is there for you if you choose to do that. Now, in terms of rest time, there's no specific strict rest time that you need to follow. Rest time is going to differ between the individual, how well they recover, and also what exercise the person is doing. So instead, I'm just going to give you the concept of what you need to do with the rest time so you can auto-regulate how much rest that you specifically need for yourself. So it's super simple. All I want you to do is take enough rest so when you are doing the next set, that you are as recovered as you can be, so you're not still fatigued off the previous set that's going to affect your performance on the upcoming set. So for example, if you were to do a squat, have 30 seconds rest, and then go into your second set, you're probably still going to have some fatigue lingering around from that first set, which is going to affect your performance on that second set. You might do 12 reps on the first set, and then because you only had 30 seconds rest, then you might only do say 9 reps on the second set because you're tired. The general recommendation is between 1 to 3 minutes rest time is probably going to be sufficient for most people watching this video. Some exercises you might need a little bit longer rest. So for example, a squat is a lot more fatiguing than a bicep curl. So you might need to have a 2 to 3 minute rest on your squat, but the bicep curl you can have like 1 minute rest. And for those who are supersetting, so doing one exercise and straight into another exercise, again, because I've put the exercises in an order where you're not overlapping muscle groups, you might have a short rest between the exercises, or you might not have any rest at all. So you might do your squat, and from that you go straight into your dumbbell chest press because your upper body probably isn't going to be tired from doing the squat. However, if you feel a little bit out of breath and you feel like you need about 20 or 30 seconds rest between the squat and the chest press, then have the rest. Then what you can do after the end of the superset, so after that chest press example, you might have a longer rest, like 1 to 2 minutes, then go into your squat, okay? So between exercises is probably a shorter rest, and at the end of that little circuit, you can have a longer rest. So we've covered the program, and now you have all the information you need to know to get started with the program. For the rest of the video, we're going to cover in detail the technique of every single exercise in the program. we're gonna go over how to do the deadlift using either a dumbbell or kettlebell. So you can use either or. When you are setting the dumbbell or the kettlebell, we're doing it in a position where when my feet are wide like this, also I should note that your feet are outside of shoulder width with your toes pointing outwards. When you're setting the weight for a dumbbell, basically the middle of the dumbbell, the handle, is in line with my ankle bones, okay? So it's basically directly underneath me. The width of my feet, I'm basically doing a width that my ankle is stacked under my knee, okay? I don't want to be too wide like this because now my shin is turning inwards. I also don't want to be too close because now my shin is in a diagonal angle like that, okay? So wide, that when I come down, I've got this straight shin or the ankle is stacked under the knee. When you're going to pick this weight up, the first most important cue, this is like the fundamental cue of a deadlift, is you must get your hips in the right starting position. So what I mean by that is when I am here, I'm going to come down like this. So I want to have my hips in a position, okay, that I have a V shape between my thigh and my torso. If I'm too low and I bend my knees too much, now you can see that I'm more of an L shape. My torso is very high and my thigh looks like it's parallel to the floor. We don't want to deadlift like this because now I'm basically squatting my deadlift. On the opposite end of that, I don't want my hips too high because now in this position, my torso is parallel to the floor and my legs are fully straight. So if I lift in this position, I'm not using really much of my quadriceps. It's all gonna be like my hip extensors, my hamstrings, and my lower back. That's taking the load, okay? So you wanna be in a position that V shape. If you're unsure, maybe the first few times, do it in front of the mirror so you can check from the side if you are in the right angle. However, do not rely on the mirror. Do not keep checking yourself in the mirror, okay? Use the mirror as a guide for you to check, okay, if you're in the right position. Once you are, what I want you to do, don't look at the mirror, but take a snapshot of how does that position feel. Because we don't want to rely on what we visually look like in the mirror. We want to go off how does our body feel in space. If you rely on more feelings of your body in space, you're going to be able to pick up on many more cues and be able to tell where your body position is, and you're going to be able to fix your position better rather than using visual cues. So, we're going to come down here, V shape. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we want to lift our chest up. When I lift my chest up, you can see it makes my arms long. I don't want to have slack in my arms. Imagine my arms are like a rope, okay? I pull both ends of the rope and the rope becomes taut. I want my arms taut, okay? There is no kink. So before I start, I'm going to raise the chest like this. My arms are long and I do a bit of a pre-pull on the weight, and you can see it gets that slack out of my arms. When I'm in this position, pulling on the dumbbell, taking the slack, I've got a lot of, how can I say, tightness in the back of my hamstrings and the back of my glutes. When I've got that feeling, I know I'm ready to stand up. So I'm going to be down here, feet wide, dumbbell in line with my ankle bones, feet on about a 45 degree. I've got the V shape here, high chest, pre-pull on the dumbbell. Now before I come up, I'm going to take in my breath through the mouth, breathe into the midsection, and then I'm going to stand tall, okay, to my knees are fully extended or fully straight, and my hips at the weight. So I'm basically squeezing my butt at the top, and you can see my joints, my knees and hips are locked and my shoulders are tall. We're not going here, okay? You don't have to hyperextend. We're not finishing forward like this, all right? Just nice and tall. If there was a line drawn through my ankle, knee, hip, so through here, 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 it should look like a pretty straight line, okay? Common mistake that I get with beginners, maybe not all, maybe like 30%, is they bend with their arms like this. They'll try to lift and go like this. You don't bend at the arms. These are always, your arms are just working like hooks, okay? These just stay long. When you bring the dumbbell down, try to bring it back in the same spot that you picked it up at. So, again, in line with the ankle bone. It's going to be very important that when you put it back down, if this dumbbell, if you accidentally put it in front of you like this, okay, now the dumbbell, the load is a greater distance from your joints. Do not lift it up from here. You can see if I lift it up from here, how much more stress that's putting on my lower back because there's a further distance between the load and the back here. It's making it harder. So you either bring it back to you over the ankle bones or just reshuffle yourself, okay? Most people doing this, you're probably going to push it forward in the first few reps. So just double check that you got it in the right position. So I'm gonna put this all together now. All right, feet wide, feet turned out. V shape, here, high chest, take the slack out, big breath, stand tall, my joints are locked, bring the dumbbell back down into the position that I started with. When you can do a 30-kilo dumbbell or kettlebell, 2 or 3 sets of 12 reps, then you'll be ready to do a barbell with 5 kilos on either side, 30-kilo barbell deadlift. So this is the machine chest press. So the first thing that you can do is you can adjust the seat height. Basically, you want to adjust the seat height so the handles are around the middle of your chest, okay? Or it's around like nipple line. Now next, with your feet, basically just have your feet flat on the floor so long as you can reach. Some chest presses are high, some are lower, okay? But if you can, feet either flat on the floor or just like flat on the machine, so long as your feet are flat. Now, when you are gripping the grips, somewhere in the middle, okay? A good rule of thumb is is your forearm basically in line with your hands, okay? I don't want to be like too close like this because now my forearms are like bent in this way, okay? And I probably want it to be too wide when my forearms are bent out this way. So I'm basically having the forearms stacked in line with the wrist. Now with this, when I start, I'm going to just bring my chest up a little bit because I'm going to retract my shoulder blades just slightly as I press up. You'll see when I get to the top. When I'm going to press up, what I want to do is adjust my elbows, okay? So I don't want them flared up like this and I'm pushing like this, and I want them a bit more tucked towards my ribs, okay? When people press up, they'll sometimes do like this, okay? And they're kind of shrugged up like this. I want to be pulled back here, all right? So I'm going to adjust my elbows, retract my shoulder blades a little bit. I put my head on the back of the pad. I'll usually do the first one just to kind of like get it up in the position. From here, I'm going to not shrug. I want to be a bit retracted with my shoulders and keep my chest high a little bit. All right, feet are flat. I like to come all the way down to when the arms meet at the machine. So I like to do a reset between reps so I know each rep range of motion is identical, okay? It also gives me a chance that when I come back here, I can readjust my elbow position because sometimes when you come down, your elbows might start flaring up like this. So if I come down, I get to readjust my elbows, tuck them down a little bit. That's another way that you can think of it. You're just kind of like tucking towards the floor here. All right, now I'll do a few reps, and that should make sense. So you see when I get down the bottom here, I'm readjusting my elbows, okay? Make sure my feet are planted. Maybe raising my chest up a little bit. When I press up, it's quite powerful. And when I come down, it's a control. It's not like super slow, but I'm not dumping it either. So it's a control, down, dead stop, fast up. Okay, so we're going to go over the leg press. So for the setup of the leg press, it's going to differ between leg presses because they're all different. So whatever your gym leg press is might be different to my one. But for a large portion of them, one, they usually have a adjusting back seat, okay? So generally, if you're vertically challenged like myself, you might put it a little bit closer if you can't reach the leg pad, and I should say the foot pads. And if you're taller, you can obviously put the height back. Next, a lot of them have safety stoppers here. Okay, so if you were to bring the leg foot plate down, that it will hit the stopper so you don't become a pancake. What I like to use the stopper for, which I'm going to go over when I actually use the leg press, is I can use the stopper to make sure my range of motion is the same every single repetition. So I will show you that in a minute. And then next, leg press has an unlocking mechanism. I won't show you how to unlock on this specific one because your leg press is going to be probably different to mine. Okay, but they're basically the three things that you've got to adjust before you get on the leg press. Okay, now to actually use the leg press, after you set it up, now the first thing is you're going to get your foot placement. For most people watching this, very simple, about shoulder width apart, your feet can either be straight or turned out. If you do it higher up, it's going to be easier. So if you're having difficulty with the leg press, say maybe just like the leg press on itself is heavy enough, then you can go higher up. Okay, if it's easy, for most people just go in the middle because you're going to get a larger range of motion. Now, when you are unlocking this, you need to push the weight up first, okay? And then it allows you to unlock. Now, what I'm going to do with my hands, I'm going to grip either the side grips or under the seat because I want to pull myself into the leg press, okay? So my butt never comes off the foot pad. Now, with this, so long as you were strong enough, if you are, you want to bring this foot pad down as far range as you can go, okay? Basically, the larger the range you can do, the more it's going to stimulate your quadriceps and the bigger your muscles are going to grow, all right? The mistake that people do on this, they load too much weight and they do these little half reps like this, okay? That's not really doing anything. You're wasting your time. Go lighter and go a full range of motion. Now, as I mentioned, that I will set the safety stopper if your one allows you to, because I want to come all the way down to this touches the stopper. And then I push up, okay? Because now I know every single repetition I'm doing is always the same, always identical. Because as the weeks go on, when I'm adding more load, if I know I'm going the same range of motion and hitting the stopper every single time, I know I'm getting stronger because I'm getting stronger, okay? Some people will make a mistake that if they might be putting more load on the leg press, but then they cut their range of motion shorter and shorter. So are they actually getting stronger or are they just making the lift easier because they're cutting their range of motion? So now when you're bringing this down, as I mentioned, all the way down, dead stop on the foot pad, and then up. I'll do some reps in real time. The things that I'm focusing on, 1 is that foot pad coming all the way to the stopper. 2 are my knees tracking in line with my toes. Okay, so as I'm coming down, I don't have to fully like flare out my knees, but the knees are just straight into my toes, okay? Or in line with my feet, I should say. And when I push up, I want to try to avoid my knees caving in like this, okay? So I'm keeping them in line with the toes and then pushing straight. If you have a tiny bit of knee cave, it's okay. But ideally in a leg press, there probably shouldn't be too much knee cave when you're doing a leg press, unless you're like very fresh, maybe your legs are a little bit weak. If you focus on knees in line with the feet, over time, you will be able to hold knees in line with the feet if you are getting a little bit of knee cave. And probably the biggest other cue is that you just want to make sure that your butt or your pelvis is always in the foot pad. Or sorry, not in the foot pad, in the back seat. When people come down, sometimes they'll go like this, and then they lift, okay? And then their butt comes off the pad like this. So that's why I'm gonna pull myself down into the seat, so I'm always in the seat and my butt does not leave the back pad. And that's all the cues for the leg press. So this one is the lat pull down. So the only thing that you really need to adjust on this is the leg pad. So adjust it to a height that it basically is like, it's firmly in your thighs. Okay, so like it's basically anchoring you in the seat. When you do this, your feet are always flat on the floor, okay? Don't go on your heels like this. Go feet flat in the floor. You're gonna be more grounded and stable. Now, when you're using the attachment on this, although it is wide and most people in the gym you're going to see is grabbing it wide like this, it is going to likely work your lat muscles more if you do a grip which is about shoulder width apart or just slightly out of shoulder width, okay? So my arms are going to be straight like this. The way that you think about it is that my arm relative to my wrist, it's either gonna be like directly stacked straight or just slightly out, okay? But essentially your arms are going to be straight. Now, when I'm performing this, I'm gonna take the load. I'm gonna come kind of close to the machine. I wanna be back like this, okay? And I'm leaned back. I'm gonna be kind of stacked underneath the bar. Not directly under. Basically, I want to be in a position that the bar is in line with the top of my chest, basically where my collarbone is, okay? Because this is where I'm going to be bringing the bar down. All right? When I begin, I'm going to have my arms long because I want my lat muscles. So these like muscles underneath my armpit sort of things, my lats, okay? I'm making these long, all right? So a big stretch. Now I'm going to bring the bar down, as I said, to the upper, where my collarbone is, okay? You're gonna notice my elbows are tucked under the bar. They're not back like this, okay? I don't wanna be down here and rotating like this because now my shoulders are rotating and I'm changing the exercise into a row. I want to have my elbows tucked under my wrist, okay? And that's gonna use my back muscles more. You'll also notice that when I do this, I'm not swinging back and forth like this. At most commercial gyms, people are gonna be doing way too much load and either swinging backwards like this or they can't bring the bar down, like they're not bringing the bar down as low as they can. Also a note with that, when you're bringing the bar down, if you feel like there's a point in the range of motion at the bottom that you are unable to maintain the elbow position, it starts to kick back like this, okay? That's fine, just go to the range of motion where you can maintain your elbow position stacked under the wrist, okay? Even if that means that you're missing the bar hitting your like collarbone by whatever, a few inches or centimeters, okay? So to do some example reps, so arms straight, feet flat, kind of underneath the bar, so this is in line with my collarbone. Down here, I'm gonna hold for a 1-2, and I'm keeping those elbows tucked under the wrist. Full extension of my arms at the top. Okay, big stretch. And that's how you do the lat pull down machine. So this one is the leg extension. So the things that you're going to adjust first, you're going to adjust the back pad. If you can, put the back pad as far back as you can, okay, so long as you can reach the leg pad. Having the leg pad as far back as you can, even though it might feel a little bit weird and awkward, it's going to work your quadriceps more. Okay, so put the back pad all the way back. It gets a greater stretch in the muscles. Next, the other adjustments that we have on here, your leg extension might be a little bit different to mine, but this one freely moves. This leg press, this bottom pad freely moves, so I can get it basically where the tongue of my shoe is. Yours might have like a little pin that adjusts. Also, you have a range of motion adjustment here, okay? So if you start it all the way here, it's gonna make the range very short, okay? If you can, so long as you don't have like knee pain or you're strong enough to do the machine, which everyone watching this should be strong enough to be able to do it full range with at least like the bottom plate, okay? And obviously if your mobility allows you, but if you can, put it all the way back as far as you can, so your quadriceps have a larger stretch in the start position. From here, I like to grab the handles or either the chair just to pull myself into the machine, because I always want my butt and my back planted on the machine, okay? So I'm gonna adjust this footrest so it's in the tongue of my shoe. All right, now from here, so it's basically all the way up, and I'm coming all the way until my knees are fully locked, and I'm squeezing my quadricep at the top. I hold for a 1-2, okay, 2-second count, pause, control the way down. I like to come all the way back until the weight plates touch the machine, just so I know the range of motion is the same every single time and I can't cheat. So if I do some example reps, and also your head, to be honest, you can either be back here or straight off. It doesn't really matter. All right. Control it down. Dead stop. Up. Dead stop. Really, the biggest thing with this is, one, is my legs fully straight at the top, and then am I coming all the way back? Two, I'm not like moving my hips. Some people, when they lift like this, they get their ass off the chair, okay? Or they might like swing back and forth like this. Essentially, none of your body should be moving except your knees extending and flexing. All right, so we're gonna do the tricep cable push down. So usually you can adjust your cables, or it might be set on the highest height and it's preset. Just put the cable all the way to the top if you can adjust it. Now with the bar, when you're gripping it, you can just basically grab it towards the end of the bar if it's like a standard length straight bar. Now, when you're standing at the cable machine, don't be too far back like this, okay? And don't be too close. We want to be just maybe like a step back from the machine. Now, what we're doing is, in this position here, we're starting with our elbows basically at our ribs, all right? When we're at the bottom position here, our elbows are going to be fully locked, all right? So from here, we're going to bring the bar all the way up until it's as high as we can go. Basically, we've got no more bend in our elbows, okay? So we're finishing tall here, and then to your arms are straight down. So your arms are always going to be fully lengthened at the bottom, and then fully flexed at the top. When I get to the top here, my elbows are always staying at my sides. I am not letting my elbows move up like this, okay? So there is no movement at my shoulder joint. Everything is happening at the elbow. All right, so grab here to my side, standing tall, elbows fully locked at the bottom, bending till we've got no more room at the top. When I'm doing this, I don't want to be leaning forward and I don't want to be like pressing like this. If you're pressing like this, then the weight's probably too heavy, okay? So always standing upright and just moving at the elbows and nothing else. So we're going to go over how to do a squat. So the traditional way that people squat and how you may potentially squat if you're a beginner is people will generally have their eyes looking straight ahead, chest high, and their hips just kind of sit straight down like this, and they're very upright like this, okay? So the knees are going very far over the toes. So this is more of we call it a high bar squat when there's like a barbell on our back. We're not using a barbell, but if you had a barbell on your back and you're upright like this, high bar squat. I'm going to show you a different way to prepare you for when you later on do a barbell squat. Your technique is already going to be prepared to move to a barbell, being a low bar squat. What we are going to do differently to the traditional squat way is with our eyes, rather than look straight ahead, we're actually going to look towards the floor about 1/2 meter in front of us. With your foot width, to be honest, for most people, it's going to be about shoulder width with the toes pointing out about 45 degrees. This may differ. Some people work better closer with the feet in. Some people work better wider with the feet out. The general is shoulder width, 45 degrees. The others who might have to go closer or wider, if you are struggling to hit depth, to get like a full depth squat, so a full depth is basically your hip joint is above the top of your knee. Okay, so that's going to be about full depth there. Okay? If you find that here, like a shoulder width with the feet out, that you struggle to hit depth, but then when you go close like this, it becomes a lot easier to hit depth, then you change your feet closer, okay? So basically modify your stance according to whichever is most comfortable for you to achieve full depth in your squat. So after we have set our feet and we have our eyes down, we're going to breathe into our stomach. So we take a breath through the mouth and then squeeze our stomach like someone's going to punch us in the gut, okay? This is going to be our setup phase of the squat. Now, when I am coming down, the end point that we are aiming for is my knees are going to be about in line with my toes when I'm in this bottom position here, okay? Knees in line with the toes. That's going to be for the majority of people watching this. There are going to be some outliers who have really long legs and their knees might go slightly over the toes, okay? But for majority of people, it's going to be knees at least like at max, about in line with the toes or even a little bit before that. So, bottom position, knees in line with the toes. Another way to look at it is your shins are close to vertical. They're not perfectly vertical, but they're close to vertical. When you do this bottom position, you're going to find that your chest is going to fold forward. All right, so if there was a laser beam shooting at your chest, it's shooting down here, about where my eyes are looking, okay? Coupled with that is your hips are naturally going to sit back when you are in this position. So again, if you just focus on, we'll go 2 things, knees in line with the toes, laser beam shooting at the chest, going to the floor, your hips are naturally going to sit back. So when you are at this top position, if you just focus at what is the bottom position I'm trying to achieve, and your body will kind of naturally find the position that it needs to be in. So I'm going to do some demonstration reps. So at the top here, with your hands, if you're doing a body weight, you can either do here, arms out. I think arms out is probably the most comfortable. Works as a bit of a counterweight. Okay, so my eyes down here. My weight is in the middle of my feet. I'm not going in my toes. I am not sitting in my heels. We are always pushing through the midfoot throughout the entire squat. Even more importantly, when you're at the bottom here, that when you push up, it's through the middle of the foot, not in the heels, not in the toes. So, got my feet positioned, toes pointed out about 45 degrees, my eyes down here. With the eyes as well, you're going to pick a point on the floor and you're going to maintain looking at that point throughout the entire squat. Do not change your eye gaze, okay? Looking at the floor, going to take in my breath into my stomach. You hold your breath throughout the entire repetition as well. Hold it as you go down, hold it as you come up. When you get to the top, that's when you breathe out. I'm going to have to breathe out because I'm going to be talking through this rep. So I'm going to breathe in here. When I come down, knees in line with the toes, chest, laser beam down here. This is the bottom position. I'm going to a full depth. So my hip joint is just below the top of my kneecap. Or another way to look at it is my thigh at the top here, okay, it's going to look like it's on a bit of a downward slant. So I'm going to do some reps now. If the body weight squat is too easy for you, so you can do 12 full depth body weight squats, has to be full depth. When you can achieve 2 to 3 sets, full depth, 12 reps, body weight squats, then you can hold a dumbbell or even a weight plate, okay? Change it to a goblet squat now. The cues are exactly the same, but now you're just holding a weight. When you do this, keep the weight close to your body. If you're holding a dumbbell, I'm going to hold it this way, okay? Palms underneath the weight, grab the weight like this. Hold to my body. Same thing, eyes down here, big breath. I actually noticed that I put my legs a little bit wider than I normally would just to give some space for my arms to get between my legs. When you can do sets of 12 reps, holding a 15 kilo weight, and you can do full depth for every single rep, then you're ready to go to a barbell back squat. If you want to know how to do a barbell back squat, there's going to be a video that's popping on the screen here. Watch that, and that tells you exactly how to do a barbell back squat. All right, we're going to go over how to do the dumbbell chest press. So when you're starting, grab the dumbbells, and it's easiest if you start with the dumbbells on your legs here, because then when you roll back, kick the dumbbells up, but keep it close to your body, okay? It's gonna be easier to get from this position to here versus if you go out and you kind of got the dumbbells up, all right? So roll, keep it close. Now from here, you wanna make sure that your feet are flat on the floor. Don't go on your toes, okay? Don't kick your legs while it's getting hard. Feet are flat on the floor. Now, when you're in the start position, you're going to notice that the dumbbells are on about a 45-degree angle. I am not spread out here, okay? I'm on about a 45 degree and my arms are somewhat tucked close to my ribs. The dumbbell, it's like, it's not touching my chest, but it's pretty close to my chest. So this is gonna be the bottom position. When I push up, I am pushing up so the dumbbells are in line with my shoulders, and the dumbbells are basically touching at the top. So essentially you're making like a triangle shape, okay? So you, at the top here, like a point, then here down to your sides. When you come down to the bottom, you wanna hold the stretch for about a 1 or 2 count, okay? So you pause at the bottom. When you come down, you're coming all the way down as well, all right? People will make the mistake. They usually go too heavy and they'll do half reps like this or quarter reps. You're coming all the way down. Big stretch, then back over the shoulders. When you're at the top here, before you bring the dumbbells down, I like to just kind of retract the shoulder blades a little bit. Doesn't have to be extreme, all right? But just kind of let your shoulder blades kind of sink into the seat. It's like there's a, imagine if there was a pencil between your shoulder blades, you're just trying to squeeze the pencil slightly, okay? So in this position, big stretch. With my elbows, you're gonna notice that the elbows are stacked onto my wrist. They're not back here, okay? I'm keeping the elbows tucked. So it's a big stretch, up to the point. When I got to the bottom position, the dumbbells are always staying on that angle, okay? They're not sagging, all right? I'm not flaring them out. They're always on the same angle. So they're gonna be angled, if I was laying flat, like this. When I come up, they're still angled. So the dumbbells never change angle throughout the entire repetition. All right, this one's the seated cable row. So what I like to do on this machine, depending on how your row was designed, if you find you can't get like a large stretch with the lats or with the arms and basically the weight plate hits too soon, I like to put a step of some sort so I can sit back a little bit further from the machine. Your machine may be a little bit different to my one, but that's what I like to do. So when I am starting with this, your feet obviously flat on the foot plate. I'm gonna go back pretty far, so I've just got like a little bend in the knees, okay? I don't wanna be too close because then it's gonna be too short of a rep. So I'm gonna sit back. Now, in the start position, how you will see everyone in the gym, or most people in the gym do this one, they're very upright like this and the rep is quite short. All right, so they're missing out on like stretching the lats a lot and getting the most out of this exercise. So rather than be upright like this, we want to start with a long stretch in our lats. And this is both the start and the end position. So I'm just taking a little bit of the weight. So the weight plates are kind of missing each other by a centimeter or two. It's okay if your back's rounded in this position, you're not gonna injure it. So I'm starting stretch like this, bringing the handle all the way so it's coming towards like my belly button, okay? At the top, I'm just basically an L shape, so I don't have to sit back like this and hyperextend at my back, okay? So you're starting long till you're in the L shape, and that's it. So to demonstrate, long with my arms, hold for a 1, 2, control the way down. All right, I don't let the weight plates touch. I've always got like tension in the lats. Common mistakes people might do is, like I already mentioned, hinging at the back and using momentum. If you have to do that, then the weight's probably too heavy. Or 2, when they're pulling, they're bringing the handle too high up and they're like shrugging like this, okay? So the shoulders are down and relaxed, okay? Bringing that handle towards the belly button. All right, so we're gonna go over the machine shoulder press. So depending on the shoulder press that you got, usually the seat might be able to adjust height-wise. I just get it in a position because it's gonna differ between shoulder press machines where the handles are and how it's made up. But basically just get in a position that it doesn't feel like you're too tall. So like it's kind of hard to get under these grips, right? And also you probably just don't want to be like so low that it feels like your range of motion's really short. That's the best advice I can give you with the seat height, because again, every shoulder machine is different. Next, if you can, feet flat on the floor, okay, not on your toes. All right, feet flat. Now, with the grip, it's gonna depend where you want. To be honest, doing out here or like the neutral grip, in terms of you like working your shoulder muscles, to be honest, it's not really gonna make a difference. Go whichever one that feels more comfortable for you. I personally don't really like this wide one here because it hurts my shoulder, okay? Where here, the neutral grip, it doesn't hurt my shoulder. I'm gonna get the same gains regardless, so it doesn't really matter which grip I use. So just somewhere like in the middle of the grip, basically grip it that the forearm is like stacked under the wrist, okay? If you're down here, then my forearm is facing like this way, and then if I'm too back this way, well then my forearm's facing the other way. So forearm stacked under the wrist. Now, with this, with my elbows, I want to keep them also stacked under my wrist, okay? So I'm always going to, before I come up, elbows tucked, heads, it's up to you if you want in the back pad or straight, it doesn't really matter. Now from here, it's just gonna go all the way up to my arms are fully extended, okay? I'm not finishing soft, fully straight with my arms. I guide it back down. I like to come all the way back down until the machine or the arms are touching the machine, because then I know the range of motion is the same between every single repetition. So, and also when I get down to the bottom, it allows me to reset. So I can tuck my elbows in, okay, get my feet flat, and up. Also with this, when I was pressing up, I wasn't like hyper arching my back, okay? So I'm keeping my back pretty close to flat, okay? It doesn't have to be perfectly flat. There might be a natural arch in your back, but just when you press up, you might see that when it's heavy, people are like, they'll put their feet like this and then they're really like lifting, okay? And trying to wiggle up like this, okay? Arching their back, or they might even lift their butt off the seat. None of that should happen. If your body is maneuvering like that to get the weight up, the load's too heavy, okay? The only movement that should be happening is in the shoulder joint, okay? This, moving like this, and the elbow joint going up and down. And that's pretty much all the cue points for the shoulder press. All right, so this one is the lying hamstring curl. The only adjustment usually on this one is the back leg pad. So I want to adjust the leg pad that when I'm in this position, that I can comfortably have all my body on this pad, but then the back pad is basically resting on like the back tendon, like the Achilles tendon on the ankle, okay? So this is too far because it's on the back of my shoe. So we'll have to adjust this forward. So from here, now it's on that back tendon. Now I like to grab the handles to pull myself in, all right? Because with my hips, I want to pull my hips into the seat. Now from here, depending on the machine, sometimes there's a little bit of slack in the cable. You can hear it. All right, you can hear the weight plate. So you'll see before I come up, I'm gonna use the back of my legs to take the slack out, all right? And then I come all the way up. When I come all the way up, if your mobility allows you to, or your flexibility, bring the leg pad all the way to so it hits your back of your legs, okay? So you want a full range of motion, and then when you come down, you want to make sure that your legs are finishing fully straight, all right? We're not doing like a half and finishing here, okay? All the way, big stretch on your hamstrings on the back of the leg, all right? So to do some demo reps, so I'm gonna take the slack, touches the back of my legs. I guess the errors that people can make on this is they move their body, okay? And they kind of like swinging their torso up and down like this. None of your torso should be moving. All the movement is just happening at the knee joint, okay? My body is not moving and I'm not hyperextending my back. That's another reason I like to pull myself in to use the handles, because now I know my back is flat. All right, my body, it's going to minimize my torso movement because I'm pulling myself in. All right, so just movement at the knee joint. When I get to the top, I usually like to hold for a 1 or 2 second count. And when I bring the weight back down, it's slow and controlled. So it's powerful up and then controlled on the way down. This exercise is going to be the bicep cable curl. So we're using the same handle that we used for the tricep pushdown, grabbing at the end of the bar. Now when I do this, I'm going to take a bit of a step back from the cable machine because I want my arms fully stretched, okay? So I want long elbows. I might have a slight lean back, so obviously the weight doesn't take me. Now, you're always starting with the elbows fully straight at the bottom, okay? We're not finishing soft like this, always long arms. I like to take a step back, so now, if I'm close here, I've got more likelihood that I'm gonna like push my elbows on the sides and curl like this, so I don't wanna make like an anchor point at my elbows. I'm gonna stand out a little bit so my elbows are away from my body. When I curl up, basically curl up as far as you can go. So basically, the middle of the bar should be like, kind of like at your sternum, all right? When you come down, fully lengthened arms at the bottom, okay? One thing I like to do at the bottom to really emphasize my bicep is my arms, I'm kind of like turning my palms this way. It's like I'm putting the pinkies together. So when I'm at the bottom, I turn like this and then I curl up like that. And I tend to get more of a contraction at my bicep at the top when I'm turned like that rather than staying in this position here. Turn my pinkies towards each other, or like, it's basically like rotating my arms or the elbows inward. All right, stand tall, bend at the elbows, straight arms at the bottom, retwist my elbows. Things to watch out for, you don't want to be bending at the back when you do this, okay? The only thing that should be really moving is your elbow. That's it. Not even much happens at the shoulder, okay? So you're not really doing a lot of these. It's just at the elbow joint. Okay, so well done if you got through this entire video. It was really long and there's a lot of information. For a summary of all the information in this video and even cues for the exercises, go in the description and there's PDFs to everything so you can take this information in the gym. So if you forget anything, you've got it all there ready to read. So if you have any questions about anything in the program, just leave a comment and I am going to reply. If you got any value out of this video and you want to help me out, if you like the video or even dislike it, Leave a comment, subscribe, anything like that will really help me out in spreading this video to a wider audience. So that's it from me. I will see you in the next video.